rallied on well in his first try after Oaklawn where he was badly beaten. So I wouldn't be surprised to see some improvement from Heckamite.
Right.
Interesting Texas-bred 2-year-old race in race 2. These are fillies, 4.5 furlongs. We're starting to already see some horses run back, which is interesting. You got some firsters and you got some run backers. And, Real Good Game was 6-5 in her debut. She ran okay, and we're both on her bandwagon again today.
Yeah, that was a good race for her. The 1-2 finishers finished close. They dueled from start to finish. No one was making up any ground.
Yeah.
Real Good Game, to me, will benefit from that experience. It was 5 lengths back to the 4th place finisher. Generally, lightly raced horses, especially 2-year-olds, improve from race to race. So she has a big advantage there. If you're looking for a price, I really thought Bella Blue Moon might be real interesting. I haven't seen this 2-year-old because her 2 works have been at Louisiana Downs, but those works were the fastest of 13, second fastest of 19. Delhomme, the sire's 21% winners with first-time starters, which is very high. And the Dam, didn't have a lot of class about her, but she was a 9-time winner. So I felt on pedigree, on works, it's kind of sneaky when you bring them in from Louisiana Downs off some quick breezes. And I think with connections that people aren't too familiar with, might have value.
Yeah, I agree. Real Good Game, last time out, we might point out, was a filly taking on mostly male rivals. And like you said, Sip and Go and Lexi's Comeback, they ran really nice races and were not looking back at all. She still made some progress on them. Her Damn Sarcastic was an unraced $275,000 yearling. And I also think Real Good Game was a little bit green in the stretch. It looked like she might make an even bigger rally. And then she kind of ducked in behind a filly or behind somebody, and it kind of stalled her momentum a little bit. One note about Swift Like Taylor, $80,000 Fasig-Tipton, Kentucky July yearling purchase last year. Comes in for Asmussen from Churchill. I'm never sure what to do with those. This filly just ran around there last time at 30-1. Adds Lasix, though, today. And Her Dam, swifter than Taylor, did win 7 races and almost $100,000. And swifter than Taylor, the Dam, did produce a $395,000 earner and a horse named Smart Remark. Oh no, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong. I'm looking at Sarcastic. Sorry. But swifter than Taylor does have a little bit of a history as a producer. She produced Bling Bling Bling, who's pretty fast. So,
And we've been burned. I mean, at least I can speak for myself. Steve, when he brings these horses from Churchill that get beat decisively, they often win here. And it's
they can.
So I've been burned. That's why I made this horse 3-1 off that apparently kind of a poor looking career debut at Churchill.
Yeah. I watched the race. She just was outrun. I mean, she was trying hard. She didn't look like she was in any form of distress or anything. She did beat 5 of the 8. She just ran around there, but that group was just too good for her, I think. Race 3. Fillies and mares 3 and up, mile on the turf. This has one scratch, the 9 Looking for Bargains. I think they just put her in there. They ran her a week ago and entered her that day as well. They wound up running her last week. So she's out here, but optional $30,000 claimer, and a couple of them are in for the 30, a handful are. Or you can be a non-winner of 3, or you could be a non-winner of 2 races other than.
Yeah, that makes it tough on a line maker. They entered Looking for Bargains in the morning and then ran in the afternoon, and I'm thinking to myself, 7 days. I mean, people do run in 7 days rest.
They do.
So I wasn't 100% convinced that she would come out, but she did. Ninth Island is the selection now, for me. 2 turf races, 2 really nice wins. One was at Remington Park and only her second career start. tried the main track this year at Houston and ran a terrific race. Led into deep stretch, finished a nice second behind a horse running and gunning who came back to win again. And then last time out, going a mile and an eighth of a mile further than today's race, led from start to finish. This horse is doing really good. Brett Calhoun couldn't be any hotter.
Right.
He's 12 for 26, 46% winners on the meet. If you look at this filly's breezes since that big win going a mile and eighth, I mean, a bunch of really fast breezes, and some of them at 5/8 of a mile.
Yeah.
David Cabrera, is having a very high percentage season, in good part because he's riding for Brett Calhoun, but nevertheless, he's always one of our leading riders, and, if nothing else, he's the one to catch.
Yeah, for sure. And, being a part-time Equibase charter, I like reading the short comments. You don't really know who's doing them because nobody signs their charts. But whenever you see an as rider pleased, that means it was the easiest type of win. Mm-hmm. And Calhoun's been winning with a lot of these horses. Yep. Little short freshenings or little short layoffs. They come back and they've been firing. You don't get to the top of the standings without being able to do that. If the speed does fail, or if Ninth Island for some reason doesn't run back to her works in her previous turf races, Moonlight Gambler is my second pick. In fact, she's your second pick, too. She is a confirmed closer. I mean, she closed last time in a rained off the turf race, but if you look back to her Kentucky races last summer on the grass, she should be pretty reliable for a late bid.
Yeah, I agree. She's got third-place finishes at Churchill and Keeneland, coming from well out of it. So, again, had a nice main track tune-up here on April 26th, now on her preferred surface. I thought I was being sneaking her into the second spot at 10-1, but, here we both like her.
Yeah. On to the fourth. 1 mile here. These are 3-year-olds. That adds an interesting dimension here. Non-winners of 2, or they could be in for $50,000.
All right.
Going 1 mile.
Is Knock Knock Joke in or out of this race?
Is what that?
Knock Knock Joke.
Oh, he's in.
He's in.
In fact, not only is he in, but he's back on Lasix today. He ran on Lasix a few races back, then got off of it. Seemed to improve, actually, off Lasix, but he's back on it today.
Okay. Well, that's good. I drew a line through him like all I did was see his name, and it was for the Lasix. And usually on Equibase, I just saw the name. I said, okay, he's out. That's too bad.
He's back on Lasix.
Yeah, that's great news, though. I was going to try to beat him, and I don't. I'm
tried to beat him every race he's run, and I've been disappointed every time because he won one and was a really good third in the other.
Yeah, I'm going with Mammut for Diodoro. I have to admit I pick a lot of Diodoros because I usually win when I do.
Why not? Yeah.
But anyway, this horse had his career debut at Houston, going 6 furlongs. As you can see, had that perfect stalking trip, 3 wide behind leaders. Went to the front at the top of the lane and drew off to win by 5 lengths. I thought that was really good. The workouts here at Lone Star Park have been real nice. I actually like the outside draw because when he sprinted, he was on the outside. He relaxed. Now he's in post 7 of 7, so he should, the way I see it, get the exact same trip he got sprinting. The question will be, will he want to go this far? He's bred to run this far. If he was, 3 to 5, I would bet against him. But, anytime you can get some type of price on a horse you think's the most talented, you'll take a chance on them doing something they haven't done before.
Yeah. This is a great race.
It is.
You got a really nice maiden winner in Mammut. By the way, I mentioned this last week, too. The last place finisher in Mammut's race was Covet, who has run twice since. One was a beautiful win here. Yeah. The other wasn't as successful, but still, Covet set the pace, or was near the pace, ran last in that race, but that could be a key race. Knock Knock Joke has turned into a really nice horse since he ran a good third as a maiden in the Mind That Bird Derby. Hot Gunner, my second pick. When he runs on Lasix, he's won both of his career races on Lasix, and he's back on it today, and he's coming off a well-beaten performance in the Bathhouse Row at Hot Springs, but this is a nice field, but it's probably not a Hot Springs 200 grander field. No. And then my pick, Mintastic, that race he ran last time was basically a Texas Derby prep, and in fact, the first and third place finishers under the wire are both in the Texas Derby on Monday. Mintastic ran a nice race that day, fresh off a romping maiden score at Oaklawn. He bumped Jolly Samurai right at the wire and got taken down from second to third, but it didn't have anything to do really with the overall running of the race. I mean, he was well beaten by It's My Birthday, but It's My Birthday ran an 87 Beyer and earned a spot in the Texas Derby.
Right.
And I don't know what, he might not have much of a shot in there. I don't know, but he's still in it. So that was a heck of a race. He's gotten that experience against winners. He's got speed. So I'm going to try Mintastic.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned Hot Gunner because he has the fastest Beyer figure in the race in that restricted stake at Houston March 22nd. He's beaten only a neck at 7 lengths back to third. And you mentioned Jolly Samurai. He was 4 to 5 in that race, Jolly Samurai.
So
that was a heck of a race by Hot Gunner. And there's some inexperienced horses with some early speed in here, and Hot Gunner's going to come from well out of it. That might suit him perfectly in this spot. This is a really good race.
Yeah. He has a lot of stakes experience, too, at different tracks. I mean, not all of it successful, but, he was a good 2-year-old, good enough to run in some good stakes.
Yep.
And this is a really nice race. Race 5. On to the 5th. All older drew into this one, 6.5 furlongs, scratch number 4. It makes sense.
Yeah, Braun and Brow's going to be my pick in here. Another Asmussen choice, it looks like for me. Started his career really good with Mark Casse last winter in Louisiana. I mean, he wins back-to-back state-bred stake races, so showed a lot of promise sprinting. Fast forward to just a model of consistency. The Beyer figures he obviously runs almost the same race every single time. Last time out at Oaklawn, he caught a very good field. I mean, Lundberg came back to win by 6 at Hawthorne in his next race. This is the lowest claiming price of his career for this 6-year-old. I just love his consistency, and I think the 6.5 furlongs will be good for him. He's got a bit of a late punch typically, so that's where I am.
Yeah. Me too. I love the name, too. LeBron and Anthony Davis played together for the Lakers until the ill-fated Luka Doncic trade. So you got Braun and Brow. Of course, Anthony Davis known for the unibrow. Love that name. Shot Shell, number 9, very quick, at least routing. He's got quickness routing. We'll see how he fares here at a slightly elongated sprint. Alejandro Baldiez put a really fast half-mile breeze into this horse on May 16th. Comes back off a little bit of a layoff. First time out for Baldiez. I think he could be a little bit dangerous on the turnback angle if he gets out there, because Braun and Brow is kind of dependent on coming from out of it. Yep. So, we'll see. Pico Doro ran a really nice race last week as well, and his last 3 are really good races because that Creative Minister race Pico Doro ran 2 races back was basically a stakes race. Mm-hmm. So, I got Pico Doro in there for 3rd. Oh, you do too.
Yeah, and Brock on Bye's been in the exact in 7 of his last 12 races, and he hasn't been on dirt since he ran an 83 Beyer figure at Remington in the fall. So it'll be interesting to see how Brock on Bye does, cutting.
Yeah, I've always thought of him as a really. Yeah, I've always thought of him as a really nice 2-turn turfer. Mm-hmm. I don't think I've ever actually witnessed him sprint on the dirt unless it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
So. Okay, we're going to take a video look here at a horse I like in this next race, and that is King of the Disco. Now, as we come for home here, this race is going to feature Time to Collect, who is in the orange silks on the outside there. It's going to feature Map This Out, who is also in this race. He's in white with a red cap. And Extravagant Prince, who's in this race, is wearing blinkers with turquoise and pink. But let's watch King of the Disco, who's in the lime green in the back. So let's roll it. King of the Disco is going to range up outside of Map This Out, who's in the white. Now they're coming for home. Now, King of the Disco is still next to last on the outside. The horse just in front of him, the 4, is going to win the race, overhauling a number 2 here, who is Time to Collect. Now, I do kind of think the 8 is kind of finishing like a big doofus here. I mean, his head's kind of up in the air, but, he gets a pretty good second there behind a horse that I happen to pick in that 4 horse, and I'm not, showing that video because I want to relive Keep the Kingdom at 7 to 1, winning that race. But King of the Disco was favored in that race. He was coming off about a 6-week layoff. he kind of took the worst of it in the tactics. He was very wide. He closed ground. Now, some of these horses I mentioned that were in this race, like Map This Out specifically, have run since. But he finished ahead of some of these that were in that race, Extravagant Prince, etc. You've gone with another one, not coming out of that set of races, coming out of a race when you picked the winner. He's a striker. You know, I think sometimes we like horses that get beaten by horses that we picked and won with. And it's natural.
Yeah, it's a natural thing.
Because they ran nice races. We liked them. They ran like it. So I'm going to try King of the Disco. I picked him that day as well. Couldn't quite get there. Even though he kind of finishes a little bit like a kind of a big galoot. I kind of like him, but tell me about Withering Gaze. The one thing I will say about Withering Gaze, and I don't mean to jump your... But I went back and looked to see him breaking slowly and get crowded. I didn't see it. So it just, my opinion, I don't know about the trouble. I wouldn't overrate the trouble that he had in his last start. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, I knew I wanted to pick a horse out of the He's a Striker race. I mapped this out. Appears to have run the better race, but I just like how this 3-year-old Withering Gaze, he has improved so much. He started off like he couldn't get out of his own way, and then they move him to turf, and he runs much better. Then he gets beat only ahead on the main track, and then last time out, beaten less than 4 lengths, without the most alert start. I love that he's dropping out of maiden special weights into a maiden 20. The Beyer figures, even though he finished 7th, are pretty much the same as King of the Disco and the other favorites in here. I just figure like he might be on a little better trajectory of improvement than some of the others. He's a bit lightly raced, and Mindy Willis, she does really well on the turf course here year after year. So in a race that I consider to be wide open, I went with Withering Gaze, not with a ton of confidence, but I think this might be a decent value play.
I agree. I like King of the Disco, and I showed that video, but I don't necessarily absolutely love him either. Like I said, I did pick Keep the Kingdom in the last race. I didn't pick him, but he ran a nice race that day. But I don't. He's by no means a lock. Extravagant Prince's buyers don't jump out at you, but I thought he ran an interesting race last time, and he switches to the very hot Ramon Vasquez today.
A lot of times I'll pick a horse like Time to Collect because they went 22-4, 46-4. So it makes sense that the winner that won that race did win. He came from out of it. And he was pretty close to that pace. That might explain why he got tired at the very end of the race. So I think Time to Collect's another horse that makes perfect sense.
And, that was his first route try since way back in January. He'd been sprinting, so, that may, as you would say, leg him up pretty well for this.
Yep, good race.
Number 7 now. Race 7, 3-year-olds and up, $5,000 condition claiming event. Scratch a horse I kind of liked a little bit in here, the 5 Cheese Whiz, coming out of a nice win at Will Rogers, but he's out 6.5 furlongs.
Yeah, we talk a lot. I went with the 11 Arthur. We talk a lot about Oaklawn. Horses love it or they seem to hate it. And Arthur definitely did not care for that surface. Those races in Kentucky and last fall were really good. Good enough, I think, to win this race. Goes to Hot Springs, runs 3 terrible races, and I don't even think I'm exaggerating. And then he gets to Lone Star Park here in May in a non-winners at 3. One of the conditions of this race is non-winners at 4, and he whistled. He dominated that field of non-winners at 3. Ray Ashford, who's having a terrific meeting, does the wise thing, I think, going from a non-3 right into a non-winners of 4. This horse won't make the lead this time, but he ran well in Kentucky from just off of the pace. He'll be close, but I don't think he's going to get to the front. The 11 hole at 6.5 furlongs, that's a long run to the turn. He should get an ideal trip. No excuses, I don't think, for Arthur.
Yeah, I agree. I'm on him, too. I don't have much to add. As you mentioned to the conditions, it is a non-winner of 4 or non-winners of a race since Christmas Eve. So interesting conditions there. I think we saw Algebra come back to reality a little last time and run a better race here on his home track where he loves this track after being really badly beaten at Oaklawn. Axton, who knows about him? He comes out of an Oaklawn campaign and was claimed a couple of races ago by Abel Ramirez Rodriguez. He could run well here. I got Daring Reason second. He makes sense. just off a nice win last time against non-threes. That's another good race, even though.
Yeah, and it's a full field, too, which is great, for the multi-horse wagers.
Exactly. Race 8. 3-year-olds and up, mostly older in this one. Non-winners of 3 claimers for $20,000, 5.5 furlongs. You're going with a horse that you picked in the past because you knew that the owner liked to name the good horses after himself.
Yes.
Plus, you're also picking a horse that's named after you as well, Classic Rick.
Yeah, I'd like to think he named him after me, to be honest with you.
You never know. He might have.
Yeah, he named Master Rick after himself because he was a stake winner.
Yeah,
this one here, he just threw my direction because he's a condition claimer like I am.
No.
But, I like this horse.
Yeah.
My only concern is that he settles for second place checks an awful lot. He does. I mean, I have to admit that. Last year at Lone Star Park, he finished second in every single start and then went to Remington and easily won an allowance race, just to give you an idea. But he's coming in here really, really good, I would say. He had a long layoff. They tried a turf sprint with him, again, I think just to get a good foundation in him because he was overmatched. I don't think they thought about winning. They get that race. Then they go 7/8 of a mile, with a horse with speed. It's get sloppy track, not his best. And so now he has no excuses. Now they're dropping what I consider to win. After 2 allowance races, you go into a condition claimer. 5.5 furlongs, which is way more in his wheelhouse since he has some early speed. We'll get a fast track. Floyd Wethy, kind of a go-to guy for Jade Geldner. So, Classic Rick may get it done today.
Yeah.
He's a good place bet for those that don't come out often, though.
That is true. He will more than likely. I mean, I would seriously play that he's going to hit the board.
Yes.
I took Great Runner. Diodoro, fresh off the claim. That used to be a higher angle than 16% that I'm showing in my stats now, but still, Diodoro first off the claim. This horse has been claimed twice, each of his last 2 starts at Fairgrounds back in February and March. Had a little 2-month time off since his last race. I think he'll fit with these. He's not the hugest one on winning either. I mean, he's 2 for 18, but maybe the turn back. He doesn't have a lot of history at this short distance, but I'm going to try just the Diodoro first off the claim factor and take him to maybe stalk and pounce, get a job. The Asmussen turns back off a bunch of route races. First time he's been in for a tag. I always kind of like that angle,
I thought you would probably take him just because he's such a logical favorite. To me, not that you pick favorites all the time by any means. I just thought I was picking against something everyone would pick because he's got those tremendous buyers. He earned them in New York.
He did.
I mean, on paper, he's the best horse, but there's a lot of red flags to me.
Me too.
Why not run a condition claimer in Kentucky where the purse is a lot higher? Why has he been at Louisiana Downs?
Yeah, that's one thing that scared me off a little.
Yeah, I don't like all those Louisiana Downs works. I'd have sent this horse, to Kentucky if I thought he could win a condition claimer. Plus he's a router.
Right.
I just feel
I don't really see him as a 5.5. And I'm a little bit of an Andy Serling myself that he shows no propensity other than a decent debut at 6 furlongs. They've never thought fit to sprint him. Yeah. I'm a little of an Andy Serling. I want to see a sprinter be able to sprint, especially at 5.5.
I think if this horse is 6 to 5 at the gate, you and I are in deep water.
Possibly, yeah. And if Steve is here, because the one weekend he was here, they whistled with everything.
Yeah.
So watch to see if Steve's here.
Yeah, I would watch the tote board because this horse,
Yeah.
To me is suspicious. Going to be a suspicious favorite. However. Believe me, if he wins, no one in the world is going to be surprised.
Oh, exactly. 9th and final. I think this is a really good final race. 7.5 on the grass, first level allowance. Scratch number 5 most Saturdays. Scratch the 14 and 15 as well. 13 Gabara gets in.
Yeah, I'm with Red Hot Connections, the 7 Texas Code. He has done nothing but run terrific. He's run 3 out of 6 races. When he doesn't win, he's right there every single time. They tried to get him on turf for the first time in his career on April 25th here. It was off the turf, as it turns out. He finished up really well to be second best. 4 lengths clear of the third-place finisher. these numbers, turf for 301. When I see AP Indy and Lemon Drop Kid, I mean, I like, that's all turf there.
Yeah.
So I'm not too concerned 301. In my head, this horse is bred top and bottom for turf. And the fact that Calhoun tried to get him on turf previously, I think he might think the same way. This is a gelding that just wants to win, and I like those types of horses.
Me too, and I think he had a weird trip last time. His first time going 2 turns, and he didn't get away that well, and then he dropped way back. I mean, he was 10 lengths back at the second point of call. I don't know whether the horse just got some dirt in his face and didn't care for it or what, but then he rallied on pretty well. So he had kind of an uneven trip, but maybe he learned from that. Normally, he's pretty forwardly placed, at least he was in his sprints, but he didn't do that at all in his first route try. Maybe in this 7.5 on the grass, he'll be a little more forwardly placed. So I like him as well. And Colonel York, I mean, you can't ask for a horse in better form than him. He's won his last 3. I mean, he was, all since Mindy Willis took over his conditioning, which I don't know if that's coincidental or not, but she's found the key to him for sure.
Yeah, sure has. Now, he is a Texas bred who drew the 12 hole, but he may be quick enough to overcome. We'll see. That's why, I didn't pick him in my mix. I just felt like he may be overplayed from out in the 12 hole.
He could be. Stuart Elliott,
we'll
though, I don't know. I've seen Elliott ride a long time. I don't know if I've ever seen him consistently get horses better trips from less than ideal situations, and I'm seeing this meet.
Yeah, he's very
amazing.
Good. Very experienced.
Yeah. All right. That's all for now. First post in 33 minutes. Thanks so much for looking in on behalf of Rick and myself. Enjoy your Saturday here at Lone Star Park.
In the event of an emergency, Lone Star Park is dedicated to ensuring the safety